Hey, how you doing? Huh? You feeling all right? You feeling all right? You need to be cranked up a little bit, buddy? Huh? No? Oh, I was asking you. No, I ain't messing with that. What about, you feeling all right? That's good. I'm glad. I'm hoping you're not lying to me, because if you're messing around with that stuff again, I'll find out. Anyhow, instrument we're featuring today is the final of the three parlor guitars I got some time ago. And this old guy just appeared to swap me with like a whole truckload of these like 929 type parlor guitars. And I was able to get my hands on three of them before I was crushed to death by a bunch of crazy people. This is very, very similar to the one that we featured last week. It's the same model, I believe, but it's got the regular Silvertone headstock. And it happens to have the original tuners, which are beautiful bell tuners made by Waverly. So, I mean, they're on a lot of guitars. They're worth their weight in gold, but we're also missing a tailpiece. Kind of a drag. We're missing floating bridge. Seems like the separation on the front, there's a huge crack going down the side. I think there's 2 or 3 cracks going down the side, actually. Nut is missing. Like the tailpiece missing. It's missing a lot of its parts, man. Finish. Not like last week. It looks like this one looks like somebody actually tried to maybe touch it up at one point. Possibly. Maybe not. I don't know. Looking at it. It's really fucked up. It's an old guitar. Hopefully we can get... My original intention was to take all these guitars that are featuring over the next couple weeks, right? And like build like a one guitar that's good out of all of them. And I was like, you know what? I bet you I can rebuild all of them. And now I'm thinking about it, like, why? Because it's taking up the same space, though. You know what I mean? So it might as well than be working. Because I can't ever see a guitar, you know what I mean, getting destroyed. I have to see it live again. That's my humanitarian feeling about the instrument. Right on. So, this guy, we're going to look at him on the slab together. The back looks like it's nice. For what it's worth, it looks like it has nice, strong connectivity to the neck. Looks like the neck is in pretty decent shape. Doesn't look like it's really bent up. But you never know until you string it up there, Noriega. You gotta get a little comfortable in that little cellular area of yours. A lot of this. When it used to be a lot of broads, I know how it's like falling from power. Now suddenly you're in a little box in a little room with only your own thoughts and memories. Oh, Christina, she was so beautiful. Oh, what about Wanda? You know what I mean, and you're all alone. Hey, man, you people gotta be real messed up to think that's funny. Really messed up. So, I hope you enjoy our fall into harmony with this beautiful instrument. I'll flip you around. We'll look at it. You got it? You understand there, yeah? You and me were a lot alike. Now turn around, Manuel. We're gonna do it manual style. Woo! What a stinking pile of shit. What a stinking pile of shit. This has been pretty much raped for all the important parts. Look at this, man. Look at that. She was flapping in the breeze, William. I don't know if I want to take it off and just, you know what I mean? Look at that. We see all those ribs, man. Yeah, man. Look at that crack, man. Hello? You talking about crack, man? Unfortunately, again with Ringo, he got his hands on the wrong substance. I got my hands on the wrong substance. I had to take the substance abuse. Right? Alright, I said it. Give me check. Look. You know what I'm saying? Sadness all around. But you see that? We got half and halves. We got slotted holding them in. This guy's barely hanging in there. And we got Phillips in the gears, man. An early bird, man. Let's see the date in here anywhere. Sure, if I shine a light on it for like hours and hours, I might be able to find the remnants. Any numbers up the block there, man. This thing's like a fucking. This thing's like a relic, man. I don't see shit. I don't see shit anywhere, but we know what it is. It's the newer version of what we talked about last week. You know what I'm saying? So again, we're going to do the same thing, man. We're going to do solid. We're going to get it working again, man. For only then can we certainly say, peace be with you. Look after yourself. So I'll see you in the laboratory. We'll talk about the first thing we need to do. I think the first thing that Ringo really needed to do was to sell some of that collectibles. He wasn't going to ever wear that Sergeant Pepper uniform again. Yeah, he got all kinds of crack all over it. Rubbish. Yeah, welcome back to the laboratory. So the 605 saga continues, man. It's into the 60s now. We're reeling in the years, right? Throwing away the time. Hopefully we're not gathering up the tears, right? I used to talk about hating Steely Dan. Now I'm like coming out of the woodwork with like singing their shit, man. Anyway, man, you've been telling me you were a genius since you were 17. Right? We got a big fucking problem here. Now, last week we had all kinds of problems too, but nothing like this, man. Last week we kind of, you know, with the 50s example, the 605, we had a back that was flapping in the fucking breeze, and we just this time we have like a front that's kind of flapping in the breeze. But taking off the front of this type of instrument, not gonna be easy. You gotta take the fretboard off. It's kind of a fucking pain in the ass, man. You know what I'm saying? Something I've done and I don't like to do, just because of its difficulty. But all the braces are still in place on the front, so I think we can just sort of maybe even get away with like some kind of half-ass, like just amateur, you know what I mean, slap the glue down the fucking belly and hope it all sets up right. But what we're going to want to do in order to facilitate that is we're going to want to do this in a weird sort of stages way, man. First thing we're going to want to do is, this back is pretty well still attached, except for where this big corner's cracked off here, right? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pull this guy up, right? And there are a couple of braces that are like, you know what I mean, like detached on this end, right? We're going to want to spill some glue down those guys, man, and get them all glued up again, man. Put some glue along this little crack edge here, man, right? And run a real strong pipe clamp, like a bar clamp, right across this fucking bad boy, and close this up and hold that down at the same time, man, and get those guys reconnected. Then we're going to start from this guy, you know what I mean, forward, just you know, and attaching it this way. We got to do it in sections because I don't think it's going to come together as one. But if we start over here, it looks like we'll be able to sort of, you know what I mean, do it correctly. So let's see what we can do. Let's try to get this guy clamped up on the bottom and re-glued, so sort of, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Last time we did things correctly. We opened it up correctly. We got the braces all, you know, correctly replaced. Now we're going to do it real half-assed. Super half-assed in the Guitkit style, man. The true Guitkit style. See, we're all clamped on the bark. Look at that crazy maze, man. Crazy maze of clamps, man. We finally kind of did what we were supposed to do. You can barely see the, you know, a crack in there, but we got to level with this heavy box of dies here. Just sort of keeping that one side down. We got a million clamps around keeping it clamped, because this whole back was kind of flapping off a little bit, and when I pulled it up, put some glue in the clamps there, it kind of opened a little bit more. I was thinking I was just taking the whole back off, but then I was like, you know what I mean, it's pretty well glued on this side. I want to fuck with it. So looks like we did what we were supposed to do, just keeping the back on and getting the glue back on those slats and everything all tightly clamped up. So let's let this set for a whirl, right? When it's dry, we'll come back to you right now. So it's the next day. It's definitely dry by now. Let's get these monster clamps off and take a lurk. All right, so we got a nice clean closure of the back here, man. Nice good clamp. No problems to really look at, right? Nothing on the front. No marks from those clamps. Good job, man. So far, so good. Now, there's a lot of wood glue just sitting on the surface here from all the many times the long and winding road's been like fucking led back, man. Got one of these little scrapers from the Dollar Tree for $1.25. It's called a craft scraper. It's a real sort of like thick, you know what I mean, sort of plastic fingernail. You know what I'm saying? We just scraped out as much of that wood glue off there as possible. Now we're going to close this guy up, man. Let's pump it full of fucking glue from here to right around here, because we got to do it in sections, because otherwise it's never going to close correctly. Here through here, man. Stop right around there, and then I'll see that burnt. Alright, so we got this guy even Steven on this end. Let's let this dry and we'll just keep on moving along. We'll see when we've clamped the next one. Right? Right. Alright, so here's section 2 clamped. Right in the little armpit there. Right? I'll show you the next section. Right now. Alright, and there's the last part of the crack all closed off. See that, man? Looking good, sweetheart. Looking good. Yeah, so let's let this set for a while. See that? Complicated crack got closed correctly. That's like a tongue twister. Look at my complicated crack and watch it get closed correctly. See it in a certain amount of time. Sometimes we like to call it a spell. Right? 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we let it set for 2 days. 2 days? That's a long time, man. Let's do something like that. Well, see this big He-Man clamp on the bottom side of the crack? See that? That's what we call like a super clamp, man. It's like a big boy, right? Well, the reason we needed that was because this crack was extremely hard to set even again. It's plywood, and it had been cracked for so long that the wood was like already kind of like misshapen and like, you know, been sitting wrong for a long time. So it was hard to put it right. And when we close up the, you know what I mean, guitar, and close up this part, close up that part, there's a little extra, you know, it's like when you lose a lot of weight, you have some flabby skin, man. There's all kinds of flabby skin and it poked out here, man. A big piece sort of poked out. In order to sort of force it back together, we had to clamp it in. Now it's like totally flat. You see that? And I wanted to let it set for 2 days because then it's totally dry. Once we take this clamp off, right, the tension on the guitar on that crack is going to rest on the glue as opposed to, you know, this clamp. You know what I'm saying? All that little extra fucking gobbledygook that we smushed in there to be held in by all that glue we put in there, supposedly, right? That's the idea. So let's unclamp it, man, and see if that actually worked. Or am I just talking hot air, y'all? Alright, so we got it unclamped. I must say we did a magnificent job of evenly closing up this horrible crack, man. All the way around the guitar practically, and it even goes past the, you know what I'm saying? It's like fucking terrible crack. Now it's totally like, just like, you know what I mean, a scar on the fucking forehead, man, from a punch outside the bar on a fucking beat the clock night. So we gotta close this top up, man. This is gonna be a real pain in the ass, because not only is the top, you know what I mean, stem to stern on this side all fucking detached, but all the ribs are detached too. Some of these ribs, not that one, but this one over here is moving around, and I hope it doesn't become dislodged on this side, because then we're totally, you know what I mean, facing a harder time. So we gotta get all those braces in the right place, drip some glue down, you know what I mean, every brace, you know what I mean, in abundance, and also on this side of the top. So we got a total enough glue, you know what I'm saying, to make the grade. And then we got to carefully clamp this fucking thing down, just like we did for the back side. But this side's going to be a little bit more difficult, because we've already sort of, you know what I mean, made this a little bit more rigid by gluing this crack together. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure we don't want to break that crack back open again, so we've got to be using brute force in a ginger way. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't look like it's to be that bad, though. Looks like it's going to go together without too much trouble. Always got to watch right here in the waist. That's the first one you're going to want to clamp. And then you can, sometimes that clamp will even come off in the later stages because it's just so well done. So I'll see you after we've been clamped, right? You keep clamping me up, Charles. I don't want to be in this direction. You know what I'm saying? Let's see when we're all clamped correctly. Look at that. Look at that, man. That's like clamping insanity, man. Clamping insanity. Insane about the clamp, man. It's the clamp town races, man. So let's let it set for a while. Right? And then I'll see if that burnt. Right? 1, 2, 3. Alright. So it's the next date. Feeling solid, man. You won't believe how heavy it is, all these clamps on it, man. You can barely even move it. Let's get it unclamped and see how we done, son. So it looks good. Sounds good. Got a clamp dig in too far here. Usually put masking tape over it so it doesn't mess with it. I guess that masking tape wasn't sufficient. Otherwise, no real, you know what I'm saying? No real big, man. Looks like it's just as fucked up as it was before, but a little bit more connected, man. Look at that, man. So we had put some masking tape to hold in place those braces as we glued them. Let's try to fish this masking tape out of here. You know what I'm saying? Let's fish it out. Let's get it off those things. I'll see you in a moment. There's number 1. I'm not going to waste your time with 2 and 3 because they're way down here and here. But I'll get them. Believe me, I'll get them, Dano. Alright, so we successfully fished all that tape out of there, and that's a good thing, man. So let's just talk real quick about this crack on the side. It's still good. It still is held. I mean, it's nice. You know what I'm saying? Let's put a little bit more glue in there, though. Because now we've sort of done this, we might have cracked it a little bit, you know, moved it around a little bit, loosened it up a little bit. So let's put it in there, because that's the one we don't want to, you know what I mean, open up at any point, man. But otherwise, I think we're in the clear, man. It feels good. It looks good. Sounds good. Let's glue it up, man. Pump some glue in there like 2 or 3 times. You know, over the next couple hours. You know what I'm saying? And I'll see you at that point. So we spent a good afternoon just pumping glue into this guy, meaning just taking a glue bottle, right, and a little suction cup, and you know what I mean, getting that glue in there, you know, far into the crack as possible. Make sure it was good, man, and wipe up the excess glue. That's what we did like 3 or 4 times, man. So I think it's okay, man. I think we're, you know what I'm saying, out of the trouble zone, man. I can see clearly now. Now, let's talk about this fretboard. Now, the last time we did one of these, one from the 50s, you know what I mean, there was a lot of, you know what I mean, fretboard wear. Remember that? It was all fret weared up. And the frets themselves were really corroded. That's not really the case in this particular, you know what I mean, installment. But there's a little bit more fret wear, actually. You know, the fretboard, you know what I'm saying? So either the frets are made out of you know, weaker material than they were initially in the 50s, or there's better paint on the, you know what I mean, the phony rosewood fretboard, and it doesn't wear through as quick. One or the other, man. It can't be both, right? They're still using that, you know, 50s red, the fading Les Paul red, the sunburst these instruments like they were in the 50s, though, man. That hasn't changed. So let's do a little fret work on this guy. Let's, you know what I mean, run the block over this, man. Make sure it's all even, Steven, and get the fret file out. Do a little fret job on her. I'll see that hurt me for one. Do it. All the frets are beautiful now. There are a lot of uneven sort of spaces, man. It took a lot of like kind of grinding down to get these guys perfect, but they're perfect now. It's good. Let's wipe this off with like a piece of tissue, paper towel. We don't want to use like a rag, so that's going to get into all the other rags when we wash it. You don't really want to mess with this stuff, man. I saw some report that a lot of these Chinese guitar workers working in these guitar factories in China were getting like what they call locksmith syndrome, where locksmith, you know, people are making keys all day and they get all this kind of like key grindings into their skin and into their body and into their joints and stuff like that, man. And this is even finer, you know what I'm saying, than like key dust powder, you know what I'm saying? And it's pretty much the same composition. It's not good, man. Not good at all. So let's try to avoid it. You know what I mean? Wipe it off real quick and I'll see it. That burnt. So that's nice and clean now, man. Let's focus our attention right now on these old tuner keys, man. Now we got one, you know what I mean, that's supposed to be on this side, right? And we got one old, this looks like an Eggman tuner actually, and this looks like Japanese import, tuner set. This is actually the kind of tuners that they used in the late 60s for harmony. So we'll take these off right now. It looks like the original screws are in there, the slot heads. We'll talk about them in a little bit because we want to clean this guy off. We don't really want these guys on there while we're doing our deep clean. So I'll see when they've been removed. I'll put them aside. We'll talk about them in a moment. All right, so the tuners have been removed. They've been removed, so we can proceed to the next station. So I got some of this furniture polish, man. 312% kielbasa grease, unfiltered. This has got all the little sprinklings from the pork fat, man. It's good stuff. We're going to spray that on this old girl, man, all over the place, all on the tiddlywinks, every inch that we can touch it with, except for inside her hole, because then she'll get a yeast infection. And we don't want to be a monostat salesman, right? So let's get this guy totally clean, man. Clean like Glenn Campbell, man. That tends to make me leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. Peace be with you. See you in a minute. This one sort of cleaned up and darkened right up. You know what I'm saying? Pretty niftily. The last one that we did together was a lot more spotty after we put the furniture polish on it, right? A lot more spotty. So now it's almost sort of dried off now. Put a little bit of this on, just like we did last time. Some lemon Earl. You know what I mean? The wood's still very dry, even though we put the furniture polish. This is very dry, especially that. You know what I'm saying? We don't really need to do anything else to the fretboard. I'm not going to hit it up with any steel wool because it's such good condition. It's in such great condition, folks. Let's put that Earl on there, man. Earl Lemon Earlington. Ready? That lemon oil really darkened it up, man. Popped that original shine on the finish too, man. A lot easier than that one we just did from the 50s. I mean, that one was a lot of elbow grease involved, man. This one just sort of, hello, shiny town. It's still a little wet. Not too wet, but I mean, you can tell it's still freshly applied. So let's let it set, an hour or two. Right? And when it's done, sort of drying out, we're to coat the whole kit and caboodle with some Mom's cleaner wax. This will really pop the shine. And it will seal in the lemon oil and seal in the darkness, seal in the shine a little bit. And protect it from a little manhandling along the way, right? We like to handle our manhoods, right? I handle my manhood all the time. Yeah. I'm handling it right now, man. Privacy, bro. So let's, you know what I mean? Take a little seat for a second, and then we'll get this guy all sheeny shiny when the time is appropriate. I'll see at that print. My amigos. Yes. Look at the sheen. Right? Look at the gleam. Look at the shine. Look at that. Beautiful. So, we've got it all waxed up, William. William, you whacker. I like that, man. So let's talk Torquey, man. Torquey Tocious, man. Remember this, man? How we said we put some stuff aside. Here are the things we put aside with the original screws and screws from the original order. Now, these are probably the original screws. They're not the original tuners. Like I said, this is certainly an Eggman pair. And this is a Japanese pair. See, there's a Japan right there. I want you to see it. I want you to experience it. I want you to taste it. See? Empire of Japan. I have another one of these base plates in the drawer without the gears and the posts, man. So I was thinking maybe I could search through other drawers. And it's kind of hard to find some of these components, and they're really good to have. I figure I'll just hold on to these, you know what I mean? Because this one's, you know, I always get Eggmans, and I have all kinds of Eggmans. And I always need these, you know what I mean? Or parts of them. So it's good to have. It's good to have the original screws. Last time we met, we put a set of these on, right? A set of these old, you know what I mean? AliExpress 3.99ers. And they did a hell of a great job. So we're going to do that. But before we do that, we're going to talk about this guy over here. What's his name? His name is, oh, whoops. Whoops-a-daisy. I fucked up, right? Shouldn't have put on the wrong side, right? So I have a tooth pack. Right, we're to cut the very tip off the tooth pack. Just make it a little more blunt, right? And then we're going to fill that little hole with glue. We're going to cut off the tip of the, you know what I mean? After we put it in there, we're going to hammer it in with a little tack hammer a little bit and let it dry. I'll see you when we come to that pernt. What's your pernt, man? I don't have a pernt, man. I'm pertintless. We got it all correctly plugged, man. We just put glue inside of it and all around the toothpick, right? And then we sort of cut off the, you know what I'm saying, little remainder. And we just tapped it with this little, you know, tack hammer. And it actually broke right there, level, right where it should break. Right where it should be. So let's let that dry. Dry a spell, and then we'll give a little color. So I'll see you after we're dry. I'll show you how we're colored in, friends. Alright, so it's the next day. It's definitely dry. Let's try to mask these off. We're going to try to get rid of this guy too for the most part. Got a variety. Regular people say variety. I say variety. I've never said that word in my life, man. Just now is the only time. I'm sorry, I'm a liar. We're going to try to... This one looks a little too yellow. And this one looks... maybe a little too... we'll see what we can do, man. Let's try to make these two things disappear. Ready? Take a good look now. 2. Ready? 3. There it is, man. Looking good, man. Certainly less jarring. You jarhead, right? Less Al Jardine. Less Al Jarreau. A little bit more status quo, man. So let's use this new hardware, with the exception of these plastic bushings. Use the screws and everything on this new stuff. And we'll save this stuff for a rainy date, man. There'll come a day where we'll be like, oh man, I could really use a post, man. Yes, a screw like this would be highly, highly satisfactory. I'm working on this Eggman. Don't ask any questions. You know what I'm saying? Something's going to happen one day. It'll be needed. And plus, this is another control. Because this is the same set that we used on the last one that last time when we did the one from the 50s. Right? Right, Marty? We went back to the 50s. Now we're going back to the 60s, man. It's my time period. Psychedelics, man. Psychedelic meltdown, man. I'll see when we've been installed, man. The installation was complete. 1, 2, 3. There we go, man. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to have a top, right? So we got to talk about the tailpiece, man. Saying we're always sort of short on these. These, as I said last week, used to be a dime a dozen. Seems that after Harmony folded their whole like stock of 50 million that they had in their warehouse, showed up every seller on eBay, and you can buy them for like $7. But now they're like $25-$30 a piece, man. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of expensive. I saw them for like $50, $60. Isn't that crazy, man? So this is a 2-heart tailpiece. There would be no fallback into Harmony this fall if I didn't find the following deal. 2 for $17 on Reverb, man. And I used the first one last week, and this is the one that's all pitted looking. I don't know if it's really pitted. Might just come right off with some steel wool, right? Got the original screws, man. Look like the same screws that we just took off those tuners, man. Isn't that something nice? Isn't that something to be said about Reverb coming in handy? Can't really complain about Reverb. So let's, you know what I mean, get it all cleaned up with some steel wool and screwed on, man. and then we'll see you at that print, man. Right? Buying these two for $17 totally changed our lives. Together. 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 See when we're all together. 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 Yes, man. Still got some pitting. But I mean, that's par for the course. Most of these harmonies with this tailpiece have a little bit of pitting. It's age appropriate, man. I guess, man. Mama, I got a hole in my bottom and I don't know what it does. It looks all brown inside. What happens, I can't fit my finger all the way inside of it, though, to see where it leads. So, this is called a butt plug, son. And we'll plug up that little hole and you won't have to worry about nothing. So, this one's a real tight hole. Right, we can't get all the way in just by pushing it. We're going to have to get the rubber hammer and give a nice little tap. I'll see you after we've tapped our little friend into his, tight into his bottom. All tapped in. Couple whacks from Big Perm where Smokey couldn't even get a nickel bag on the avenue, right? Looking good, man. So, we got one more tail to talk about, man. We're going to talk about plugging the bottom to these nuts up top, man. Disc nuts. Right? This be the nuts that we showed you last week, man. We had a whole bunch of these 44 and 45. Some of these fit perfect with 44s. Some of them are better off for the 45. You got to really measure them up, even though there isn't any official fluctuation that should be noted. But that's just the way it goes, man. You know what I'm saying? Some of them are good 44s, some are 45s. This is a solid 44. Unbleached bone, perfect size. Let's clamp it with a little bit of crazy glue, you know what I'm saying? Super glue. We like to take our time, but not too much time. So we had it clamped for an hour. One whore. That's how you pronounce it in certain countries, man. I'll see you in a whore. 2 whores. Maybe 3. It's nice and tight, man. Bone to wood, that's usually a good bond with super glue, man. It's usually an excellent time had by everybody, man. What about this linea, man? Look at this linea that's blocking up my view, man. Breaking my mind. Well, last week, we talked about that same phenomenon on the one that was built in the 1950s, the same model. Man. You know what we decided to do? Instead of sitting around with our fingers in our keisters like we've been talking about before, man, we made a set of them, man. We did, man. You can check out last week's episode. You don't have to, man, because it's not really that interesting. I took an old rib from a guitar that we built together. I cut it down some. Man, I seem to be happy to see it look more like a bridge than a rib anymore. I painted it up and I made it look nice for the people. You know that look nice for the people? Splendid. Smashing. So continuing tradition. The whole rest of Fall Back in Harmony, we're to keep using these rainbow strings just because I was so happy about that really bright treble response we had last time we met, man. This is practically the same damn instrument. We're going to see if it sounds the same. And the next 2 929 guitars that we do in November, we're going to use these same ones. That way we can use up pretty much all of them we have. I think I'll only have 1 pack left. I'll save that for sentimental mood, man. I'm a sentimental mood. See you at the glamour shots when we're all rainbowed out, man. Are you feeling like a rainbow, man? This is going to be the wokest time you have all day long when you see my video. Well, I'm just kidding with you. And there we are. The older brother and the younger brother. Looks so much better than the one that we showed you last time from the 50s, but it's the same instrument. It's the same sort of vibe, man. Now, when we did this guy the last time, we just put those strings on, and it automatically was a beautiful instrument. Nothing else needed, man. This guy, on the other hand, it took a little bit of finagling to get it playing like perfectly because the action is so low on this. Look how low that action is. Isn't that incredible? That's insane. That's nuts. So it was buzzing a little bit because the action was just so damn low. We had to, I mean, the most helpful thing, we had to put a little bit of crazy glue in the grooves that we already cut in there and sort of bring them up a little tiny bit, and you know, sand up the frets a little bit better. Some of the frets were a little bit too, you know, I mean, square. We had to sort of knock the edges off so it wouldn't buzz, but we got it playing beautifully now. And I must say, it's a hell of an instrument, man. It really is like a really good example of one of these instruments, you know, because it has the new tuners, you know, and everything else is sort of stock, I guess. You know, I mean, it's new nut, new bridge. Everything else is what should be on there. You know what I'm saying? Original, man. So let's hear it, man. Yeah. We've come to the end of our 605 saga, but we still have a lot of falling back into harmony to do, you know? And that's important because we're going to do it together. Right? Let's listen to it. And after we're done listening, what we'll say? We'll say, peace be with you. Look after yourself. Peace be with you. Look after yourself. Look at that thing, man. The 60s 605. Really beautiful instruments. I can't believe I resurrected both of those crazy old ragtag instruments. It's just a gorgeous sounding little instrument. A couple little buzzes here and there. Because, you know what I mean, it's older, but they're not constant buzzes. They're just player buzzes, right? So, I don't know what else to say, man. I'm falling back in harmony. I'm feeling real good about it, you know what I'm saying? I'm feeling real good about our progress so far. I hope that it's mutual. I just want to tell you, man, I really love the Beach Boys. I really, really do. I saw a little picture on Facebook. Brian Wilson, like, watching the World Series in his little Dodgers jersey and shit. It was just great. You know what I'm saying? He looks real old, but he looks happy, you know what I'm saying? Peace be with you. Brian, Mike, Al, Dave, Bruce, of course, John Stamos, all the honorary Beach Boys, man. Carl Dennis, rest in peace, man. I can't stop like loving the Beach Boys, man. Throughout my life, I've always been a big Beach Boys fan. When I was in utero, you know, my mom taped like a Beach Boys special off the TV, you know, and years later I found it was like from like 2 or 3 months before I was even born, and my mom's handwriting on there, labeling the date and everything. Wow, this is right before I was born, so I must have been, you know what I mean, right there and then watching it, listening to it, hearing it. Maybe that's it, you know. And years later, I actually found a copy of the special on DVD, but it was like a British DVD. And my father at the time, he still is for the most part, but I mean at the time he was like real sharp, computer expert. You know, he was able to, you know, extract the DVD and burn a new DVD of it. You know what I mean? So I could watch it in like an American DVD player. You know, it's great. And I went and I had my mom like write the, you know what I mean, like label the DVD exactly the way she labeled the old cassette. 2 months before I was born, man. You know what I'm saying? The Sunday morning gospel goes good with the soul. There's blues, funk, and country, and rockin' like a rolling stone. The world could come together as one if everybody under the sun could add some music to your day. like a companion for your lonely soul. Oh, 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 oh. One day is over. Hey, man. Beach Boys, man, I love you so much. I was so glad that I got to see so many concerts of Beach Boys with Stamos, without Stamos, with Brian, without Brian, with Al, without Al. Every incarnation of like any kind of Beach Boys, friends and family, whoever, Al, Brian, Mike, Bruce, I've seen them all. I love them all. I don't criticize any of them, man. Peace be with you. We're to keep falling back in harmony. We're getting into 929 territory, right? November, getting colder, man. Trying to put these short sleeves back in the drawer. Find your sweaters. Stay warm, folks. Keep on keeping on, man. Happy Halloween, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Don't get messed up by the ghouls, man. The ghoul friends, man.